Here we go. Welcome, everybody. This is PnP weekly episode 229. We will get to 230, 31-ish before we go to the holiday break. Right, Waldek?
Maybe.
Let's see how this proceeds. It is already 4th of December. We'll probably do one or two still this calendar year, and then we'll continue after the holiday break. Right? Yes, Waldek?
That's
yes.
typically the way things work. We record one and then we record another one.
That is true. Now, on the PnP Weekly, we always talk about the latest from Microsoft 365 and the related technologies like Power Platform and other areas as well. It's all connected within the Microsoft Cloud, which is really, really cool. This is episode 229, as mentioned, and we do have a visitor, of course, in this show, and the visitor is...
Drumroll. Today we are talking to Agnes Molnar. She is longtime MVP. Was it 15, 16 years?
16
years. So she's been around for a while, and she is specialist in search. She can find things like no other, and she can help you find things like no one else. So without further ado, let's jump into the interview. Wow, it rhymes.
Let's do that. Welcome, Agnes, to the PnP Weekly show one more time. You've been actually in a show in the past. Waldek, did we do any research? When was the
Yes,
last
we have
time?
done. It was in the past.
It was...
I'm sure
I
it was
certainly
in the past. Yes.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's in the past. No, maybe. Okay, anyway, based on laws of physics, it was in the past. But if you go back in the future to the past, anyway.
What is past anyway?
That's
Yeah,
true.
exactly.
What is time?
Time is a human-created concept.
There we go.
Exactly.
There you go.
So let's start with the basics anyway, because people might not know you. Agnes, who are you and what do you do for a living?
Yes, thank you. My name is Agnes. Originally, I'm from Hungary. Moved to the Netherlands about 1.5 years ago with my family, with my company, and with my whole life. I run a small consulting business called Search Explained. And as you can imagine, the primary focus is on search and findability of information and knowledge, focusing on Microsoft technologies mostly. And yeah, that's what I do. I work a lot. I'm with my 3 children. And traveling the world, speaking at conferences. And
you're in MVP as well, right? So
I'm an MVP. I've been an MVP for 16 years now. I'm also an
16.
RD.
Wow.
I'm old. Yes, that's old. Yes.
Cool. So let's start with a kind of from the business side of the house. So the Search Explained, how has the search evolved? What's the, search is a fundamental piece on finding information. What's the latest trends? What has happened within the search area?
It's one word, Copilot.
So it is an interesting point. Like, how has AI changed, the concept of because I think the need is still there. People want to find things.
Yes.
How does the advent of AI, especially the recent year, change that? Or did it?
I think not yet, but the expectations are very high about that. So what I can see is that people and also organizations, as companies and other organizations, they have high expectations. I feel that almost everything needs to be packaged as an AI project or a Copilot readiness, project or something like that. So that's a tendency now. Also, I can see 2 things. Some companies are still, some of them are still waiting to see what's going to happen. Some others have too high expectations and they lay back and sit down and they are like this, like, oh yes, AI will solve everything for us. We don't need to do anything and that's it. So they are just there passively waiting for the magic. And there are the third group of organizations and people who think that, yes, we need to do our homework. Yes, we need to be prepared. Yes, we need to do things before it will work as we expect it to work. So that makes us busy, of course, but yeah, it's less and less about search itself. It's more and more about finding the correct and right information.
Yeah. But then when you think about it, search is the fundamental piece within the AI. So there's no AI without search because it's all about finding the information and categorizing the information, training the AI about the information what we have.
Absolutely.
Which is an interesting point, right? Which is an interesting point because, and I think that discussion has been going on for years, and you probably know that as, like no one else. Already back in the days, like we had, like very simple search, keyword search, you would find a word, and if that word was in the text, you would get a result. And then over time, we got more advanced search, finding synonyms and so forth and so on. But it was this, for a long time, it was the discussion of, do we need metadata or not? Do we need to, classify, like, do we need to have information architecture in place or not? Has that changed?
Well, short answer is not. Do you remember, or most probably you don't, at least not as much as I do, there was a Microsoft Ignite years ago when Microsoft Search was announced in, the holistic, common search experience in Office 365. And at Ignite, it was part of the keynote. I mean, the search was in the keynote, which is a big deal. You are sitting there, you can see, we are going to have a nice, really, really, really fancy search. And it was in the keynote, so everybody saw that. And then the communication about, so this was the first, a couple of sentences that we would have good search. And then Microsoft started to say literally in the keynote that you don't need metadata, you don't need anything. It will be smart, it will be intelligent and anything. And the fun thing was,
where are we with that on the scale of 1 to 10?
No, wait. This is just the beginning of the story, because
it will be better.
I was sitting there. It was the keynote, the first day of the conference. I think it was Tuesday morning, and I had a session. Orlando, yes. And I had a session. I had a session Thursday afternoon, like 2 or 3 days later. And the title of my session was, "Why do you need metadata for having good search?" So keynote, you don't need metadata. My session, why do you need metadata? And I was like, well, something is wrong. So yes, I did my session. I had a lot of people in my session. They were curious about it, which was fun. But I think what has changed is our approach to metadata, because years and years ago, what we were talking about is how we can make people to tag the documents, how we can make people to fill out those metadata. Now the discussion is more and more about auto tagging and intelligent tagging, extracting information, which from the search perspective is the same. We need that metadata somehow. It doesn't matter if it's a human who is tagging the document, or if it's an AI, or if it's a Power Apps or Flow or Power Automate or whatever it is. We need to have that metadata on the content. That's it.
But if you can already automate extracting the metadata from the content, why do we need it? Because why couldn't search do it on the fly?
For example, filtering. You cannot define what is a filter within the document. It's not the same as, so search is much more than just the full text search. It will find, if you don't have it as a metadata, full text search will find it within the document. But you need that. But also, sorry, one more sentence. Extracting information is not only extracting words. It might be extracting concepts, extracting synonyms. So maybe you use a synonym, so full text search does not find it, but by using those smart, intelligent auto extraction things, you will have it as a tag.
Now coming back on 100%, we need to have the metadata. We need to actually extract that from the data, what is there. Coming back on Waldek's question, technically you could actually do this in a two-way. You could actually extract and do all the, let's say, OCRs and all of that stuff when the document is being crawled, but that would have a massive performance impact, because then crawling the document would mean that it would have to handle all of the files one by one. And traditionally, we've been doing this, of course, as we are uploading or manipulating the data and the files and documents. We want to have it then categorized and metadata auto-generated in that. And then the search can focus on being search, not on, document management side. I guess that's because technically what we were saying, Waldek, yeah, the search could actually do, that automatic tagging as well, but it's a performance impact, and you need that tagging anyway in the document when you start manipulating or accessing the document.
Yep.
So.
But
just to call it out theoretically.
Way back when, somebody smart said that 64K ought to be enough for everybody. So I don't know what the problem is.
True, that's a while back. Going
back to AI and search, right? Because it's like as search is a key part of AI, because it does this first step of bringing the content out there to AI and let AI to reason about it. But do you see people still using the classical search, if we call it that way, or do you see more and more people moving towards Chat GPT-like experiences where that will become the new search? So people will kind of express their search intent in the way they think, as opposed to keyword queries or queries at large, just like how basically expressing their intent the way they think. Do you see that coming, or is there still place for search?
Enterprise search experience, enterprise central, whatever it was called. So
I believe it's still place for the present search experience, whatever we call it to be. So in the same way, you can imagine we already have Microsoft 365 and all those nice cloud features, and you know very well how many users still using Windows Explorer to manage their files, synchronizing their OneDrive and folders. Exactly. So it's not only because they're old style. I really hate using this expression, but that's how they work. That's the easiest way for them. And I can see the same with search as well. So yes, absolutely. There is a huge benefit of being able to use natural language and using prompts instead of KQL queries. But at the same time, just being able to click around and filter and change different vertical and just have a look on the result set as a set of something instead of just the response that we got from the AI. It's a totally different mindset or a different way of working. I think even if I look ahead like 5 or even 10 years, we will have both, and we need both.
Isn't this the same as Google and then Bing and then the Bing chat? It's not like Google text box or Bing text box is going to go away. The chat is an alternative way of engaging and searching things, and you want to have both options. So it's not either or. Why would it?
That's an interesting point, right? Because just the other day I read an article where apparently the youth doesn't Google anymore; they use TikTok.
I read about the same article already 15 years ago, and at the time it wasn't
15
TikTok.
Years
it was
old,
something else.
TikTok. That's interesting.
Not about TikTok. But again, the fact that people write these articles and people move across to different things, that doesn't mean if you think about Google, it's still by far the number one way of finding the things. And yes, there are trends. Of course, there are trends. Is TikTok now the final tipping point? I don't think so, because we read these similar articles 15 years ago already, related on whatever it was at the time. Facebook is going to take over the Google. Will it really? Will it? Well, who knows? But again, the text box-based search versus the chat-based search, I don't think that's going to be a either or. It's going to be both, depending on what you're looking for.
Yes, and also don't forget, on your mobile phone, you can use your voice. Hey, Google. Find me this and that. Hey, Siri, find me this and that, which is just a different user experience or a different user interface. Behind the scenes, it goes back to search as well.
Yes. And again, that's why the search is important. I was testing out the Bing, the image search, which is amazing because you can actually take a picture of whatever, let's say a glass of a juice or soda and whatever, and say, where is this being made? And it will give you the results based on the image.
You just pick up the bottle and it says made in Taiwan.
If it actually does that, but it will give you the actual location, addresses, company details, all of that stuff, so you can actually access the information. You cannot access that directly from the bottle. Yes, you would know which country, but you wouldn't have that additional context. Yeah. So having that visual search capabilities, and of course Google has the same thing. It's not a Bing-based thing. It's really, really cool. And then you can have a chat with the chat. Is it Google or Bing on saying, okay, cool. So what about what else are they doing? Blah, 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 blah. And you'll get in the context more additional information. But again, the search is still the same. Behind the scenes is using search.
Yes.
Now,
but
yeah.
Yeah, and I think one more thing that is super critical and super important to mention is the critical thinking. So if the next question you are asking, oh, hey, okay, who is making this kind of soda and what else they are doing? If the chat tells you, yes, they are doing also, I don't know, breakfast cereals and chocolate bars, you check if it's really true and you start thinking about if it's really, it might be because, Pepsi and also Coca-Cola do 1,000 other things than just sodas only. But still, that critical thinking will be super important about that. Do not believe everything that any chat tells you.
Now, one thing what I wanted to ask, so on the ESPC last week in Amsterdam, there was multiple discussions with the audience, and then we have our community calls and all of that stuff, and there was quite often or a few times I had this question, it's like, okay, cool, you have community calls about Power Platform and Microsoft 365. What about AI? So is AI a specifically isolated, separate thing? Because my answer for those questions was like, yeah, we cover AI in all of those calls because AI is part of the feature set, but it's AI itself isn't actually the most, central thing. It's about how AI decorates on the capabilities what we have and services what we have, like search and the UX and all of that stuff. How do you feel that? Is AI, should people just focus on AI? Or is it also part rather than, okay, AI in knowledge center, AI in document management, AI in wherever?
From this perspective, I think AI is the same thing as when we talk about, I don't know, consulting or software development or any those generic kind of things. Because when you tell someone, oh, I am an IT consultant, but still there are 1,000 kinds of IT consulting that you can do. Sure. Same with software development, same with many other things. So I think AI is the same thing. If someone says that, oh, I do AI or I work with AI, it could be that I am a scientist and really I'm working on the AI algorithms within, I don't know, the company OpenAI or Google or Microsoft. Or it can be, oh, yes, I'm an end user and I'm using ChatGPT and everything between. So I don't think speaking about AI as a generic thing is a good approach in what we do here.
Yep. So not just focus on AI as a topic, focus on how AI enables things, for example, in employee experiences and corporate communications and all of that stuff.
Exactly. So, Exactly.
That's actually giving the meat for the top of the skeleton, which is the AI. Did it make sense? No, it didn't. No. Okay, cool. No.
Skeleton, AI. I'm visual. Sorry, I started to imagine this.
Proverbs are weird.
The one thing what I also wanted to, there was an interesting, so this is I know that this is going to be an interesting debate discussion and the AI and search and all of that. And obviously, when you think about user prompting, user prompt is basically a search query. Like we already kind of touched on a side discussion on this discussion with Agnes. When you're prompting and creating a prompt, it's technically not a keyword search. It's basically a search based on the natural language processing. You're applying a search, but you're running that through with the AI translator. Is prompting skills relevant obviously they're relevant today? Will those be still relevant in 5 to 10 years? Do you really need to understand what is, core of prompting? And there's no right or wrong on this answer, but it's actually an interesting discussion point.
Yes. I believe prompting is like learning a new language. And I'm with all those benefits, of course, but also with all those challenges. So when you learn a new language, and I'm not talking about programming languages, I'm talking about human languages. Yep. So as of today, the prompting works best in English, as we all know. If you don't speak English well enough, you might have challenges because your wording might be not the proper English wording, so to speak. And in the future,
I feel seen. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you do, Vesa, but I felt something in the air, and now I know it is. But anyway, even if it would be, I don't know, Finnish or Swedish or Dutch or Hungarian, or regardless of the language, you still have to do how to express yourself. Yep. That the computer or AI or whatever we call it understands you. So yes, it is relevant today, and it will be relevant in the future as well.
And most likely, well, my prediction will be the abstraction layers will reduce the importance of prompting sooner or later. But when is the, it's because we will basically give you, like in the Microsoft 365 Copilot, there's a massive system prompt behind of that. So we give you a kind of additional value. So you do not need to understand, the scientific rocket science level of prompting. You just need to understand on filling in the blanks rather than all of that. But absolutely, there's highly beneficials on a lot of value of understanding how to define what are you looking into doing. Same, by the way, worked for the keyword search. Some people were able to use Google. Some people were not really that good on using Google.
Able to use Google. But I wonder to what extent you could draw an analogy that it's exactly the same as with computers. Like back in the days, to write program punch cards. Yeah. And then point, like you had to know, assembly with memory addresses, and that was only available to selected few because it was hard. Like you had to think differently. Now you don't. Now we let you draw a box, and that is an app that runs and works. Like you can write a flow with just a few clicks, and in a way, it's an app.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you benefit still. Like if you know how a machine works, you benefit still, but it's no longer a requirement. So I wonder if that will not be exactly the same, where over time machines will get better in trying to understand us. Because if there's one thing that I learned is that how hard it's actually to express your intent. Like it's easy to say something and then you have an AI on the receiving end and it comes back at you like, that's not what I meant. And then you start thinking about like, how would it know? That thing in my mind. How do I describe it? How do I express that so that it knows it? And I think the core part there is because it doesn't know us, it misses the context to understand us. Yeah. And I think that will be also this interesting point as it evolves and as it becomes more personal, it will be easier for it to understand us, because then, like, instead of writing a novel of a prompt, I would just be able to write a few words and it will know instantly that when I say this, I mean these few things and not everything else in the world.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's the same, I think, with the navigation systems on your phone or in your car. 20 years ago, I still remember when we drove from Hungary to Spain, like 24 hours driving with a paper map.
Yes.
A book. Yes. And I was sitting, my husband, my now husband, he was not my husband that time yet, but he was driving. I was sitting next to him and turn right now. Oh, shit. Next, we have to figure out, the replanning kind of thing on the page. Yeah, exactly. Today, it's much easier, but still, you need to be able to enter the address and everything. And the funny thing, and you mentioned personalization, I use Waze on my phone. My husband uses Waze on his phone as well. Even if we are doing the same route from the same starting point, same end point, Waze shows us different driving time, because usually he drives faster. And we have been playing with that a lot, just sitting in the same car, using Waze on his phone and my phone. entering the same destination. And usually Waze predicted for me like 5% more time or something like that.
Interesting.
It is interesting. And, personalization, as you mean, AI can predict a lot, which is good. And which is, of course, it can be scary as well, but at the same time, I believe it's good.
Now, let's get back on the bit about the search experiences and everything else. 2 questions. But first, let's start with how do you, are you still building stuff using the search web parts and search experiences? Or how would you recommend customers to looking into building their search centrals and whatever it is right now with the current situation, Microsoft 365? Is there still kind of at this web part level of doing things? Is it the Microsoft Search? Where are we? What's the latest recommendation?
I cannot exactly remember when we talked last time, but probably I said that customizations and custom web parts and PnP search is a big thing, or was a big thing. They are still a big thing today in specific cases, but as much as I can see, since Microsoft Search has improved a lot, I would definitely recommend to start with Microsoft Search and use PnP or any other web part-based solutions only if you really need something very custom. So that's a big change since last time.
Maximizing the value. So it is a mature enough then related on what you're getting out of the box.
Yes, it's getting mature enough.
Good. So there was those who haven't actually been around necessarily within historical things, there was this moment of a time where search was part of SharePoint and SharePoint Online, and then it got transitioned to Microsoft Search, and there's been kind of this, how would I say, a gray area related on features, what will be available and what's not available and where, based on investments. And it's good to hear that we're finally getting to a level where out of the box is good enough, so that we don't necessarily need to use custom components or build those experiences. You still can, because everything is API based. Pretty recently, as last week actually, Ubisoft released a set of open source components actually in the GitHub, in the Microsoft Search GitHub, which they use to build their own search experience. It's all open source under the Microsoft Search GitHub under PnP, this thing. We're going to do a video recordings and all of the podcast and all of that pretty later, a bit later. We'll put it in the notes.
With that name, my expectations are really high. I can imagine, AR, VR.
And well, it's not too far-fetched, but search components which are web components, you're able to build external hosted web applications which are connected to Microsoft 365 and make it look like whatever you want, and that's actually pretty cool. So a lot of usable components. So
it is still possible, but yes,
if you have the money and interest and
absolutely
objectives.
Yes.
So
True.
We'll put it on the recording notes. The other thing, what was the other thing?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Only we had an assistant who could look in your mind.
I'm not sure if that's smart.
But that sounds fun. My second question is, what is my second question?
What is my second AI? What is my second question? Well, it depends on the time of day.
Oh, we are very philosophical today.
Maybe so we talked about the would you start with web parts out of the box? But I think if you think about how would you start about building a search experience, you would start at the start with the content, because whatever you put in, that's what you get out. You cannot increase the level of the output if the input is bad, right? So in other words, what is the foundation? What are some of the foundational recommendations that you give to customers with regards to being able to find stuff back?
The foundation is, don't even start with the content. Go one step back to the people, understand what they need and how they work. And when I say how they work, it's not necessarily only how they search and what they search for, but also what they need. In many cases, people don't use search because they don't trust search today. They hate it. They don't like it. They don't expect any good quality results. So it's very hard to talk about search with those users. Instead, I prefer to talk with them about how they work and what they need. Because when you think about search is always just a stepstone to your next task. You are doing something, you need something, you find that thing, and you go away to doing that thing. So search is not the job. Search is just
Are you trying to say that there are no folks in the world who wake up and say, "Oh, today I'm so gonna search. I'm gonna find
search." Yes.
I'm gonna find all them things.
Search.
I'm so gonna find all them things.
I'm pretty sure that would be a very stressful job.
Yes, true.
I would say it's a niche. I bet there are folks like that who might build search, and maybe it's their thing. But
you will laugh about that, but sometimes it happens. So just imagine, we really literally have clients who, let's call this lady Katie, for example. And sorry, it's not personalization. Nothing about real Katies or anybody whose real name is Katie. Just I really need to use a name for this. So just imagine that you work for a large international corporate, and there is this one person, Katie, who is working in the knowledge management area, who has very good connections and network within the company. So she is the one who knows everything and knows everybody. And in many cases, this person has hundreds and sometimes thousands of bookmarks in her browser. And if you need
somebody I know in this call, works for a corp, well connected, a bunch of bookmarks, knows a lot of stuff. Hey, Vesa.
And you can. No, I'm talking about Katie.
Yes, it's Katie.
I don't think yes. So just imagine this, and people also know Katie, and they know that Katie knows everything. So Katie is the knowledge hub of the organization. So they ask Katie about everything, and this happens a lot. So when I talk to really users, and in many cases, when we start working with a new company, sometimes I talk literally to hundreds of users. And in many cases, if I ask them, okay, how do you search? And they say, no, I don't use search. Okay, but what do you need? And how do you work? In many cases, it goes back to their emails and also to Katie in the organization.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh yeah, like I send my emails to Vesa too. Like he knows things. Like yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Vesa is the AI.
Katie.
The linking pin, or right?
Switchboard, you mean? Switchboard.
Yes.
Anyway,
human switchboard.
Yeah, but anyway, start with the user. Start to understand what they need, and not what they want. They say, because in most cases they will tell you, "Oh, we need Google-like search." No, you don't. You don't need the 10 blue lines experience. You definitely don't have thousands of engineers who work on relevance optimization and those kind of things. So really just understand what they really need. That's step 0.
Yeah. Now,
I think I wanted to ask, was there ever a case where you talk to a customer, you talk to the users, and you realize they don't need search? They need something else. They need a catalog. They need a list of stuff, but they don't need an extensive search experience. Have you ever had that?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes what they needed was, I don't know, a policy hub, when their primary problem was they are not, finding the policies. And then the first discovery was that, they cannot find the policies because they don't really have a place or a structure how they store the policies. And then we discovered they don't really have, processes how they manage the policies. And if you just, peeling off all those layers, it turned out that they really need a policy hub. And of course, in the policy hub, they might need search, they might need, search-driven web parts or those kind of things. But from the user perspective, it is not search.
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It happens. It happens a lot.
even though search probably powers some of that stuff as well. But again, it's from an experience perspective, it's different. Now,
yes.
Before we close up, from a timing perspective, we need to be thoughtful. I wanted to come back on a bit about the family side and Agnes side of the discussion. When we started, you said that you moved from Hungary to Netherlands within 1.5 years ago. Can you talk about what is the biggest change within the cultural change within the company? So if you look this from a US perspective, hey, it's Europe, so it's not that big of a deal, right?
Well, number one, they speak a different language here.
That's fair.
Although everybody speaks English, which is good if you are a tourist, which is good, if you just visit and you can talk to everybody on the street, in the grocery store, everything can be done in English. But if you live here and if you want to practice Dutch, that might be a challenge, because as soon as they notice that you are not Dutch, they switch to English. So they want to help, but it is not a help practicing the language. But other than that, yes, of course, there are cultural differences. One that I would highlight as a funny kind of thing, how direct the Dutch people are compared to Hungarian people. Like, we moved here in the middle of the summer. I had to take my daughter to the dentist a few weeks later. And we live in a street with a lot of families. The children, of course, started to play together like immediately. So when I had to take my daughter to the dentist, I asked one of those mothers if I can leave my little son, who was 6.5 at that time, with them for like 1 hour the next afternoon. And literally the discussion was like that. She opens the door and I was like, hey, may I ask you if I can leave you, my little son, tomorrow afternoon, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, no, and closed the door. Literally, that was the discussion.
Wow.
And, the day before, we were talking about the kids. The next day, the children were playing together as before. So it was not like that she
rude or
had
anything.
any rude or any bad intent or anything. It was no, and that was it. But at the same time, this Dutch kind of directness, it's also fun. I mean, if you ask people like your neighbor, the mother or father in the schoolyard or anything, if you ask them, hey, how are you? Sometimes they really mean, how are you as a human being deep down? And sometimes you get a 20 minutes long answer about burnout, about the family, about everything in life, and not just fine, thank you, and that's it. Which
it isn't synonym for hi. Yeah. No.
Yes, no, it's not. And if you want to have a short answer, I literally still need to do that on a conscious way. If I don't have a time for the 20 minutes long answer, I really need to ask something very direct. What did you buy in the grocery store? Or, oh, we have a very nice sunny day today. And that's a short answer.
Well,
oh, yes,
even
we
then,
have.
The weather, if you start about the weather, it doesn't stop
That's
doing
true.
so.
That's true. But, start just, hey, you have something, what did you buy in the grocery store? Then it's just very specific. Oh, I just bought, I don't know, bread and butter, and that's it. Other than that, you never know.
When you mentioned, or when you were about to mention, the weird side of the Dutch, I was pretty sure you would mention something else. It was like, did you have a chance to attend a birthday party yet?
No, not yet.
No, okay. So you will. So that experience is yet to come. Okay, cool.
I know that circle thing. Wow. Yes, I read a lot about that.
No, well, that's not it. Congratulating everybody.
Yes, yes.
I don't. Why?
I know. I read about it, but no,
Okay, you haven't experienced one by yourself yet. Okay, cool.
No.
Need to explain Waldek now for the people who are watching and listening.
So imagine, like, you throw a party for the birthday you have, and you invite a bunch of folks.
Yep.
Agnes is already in a room, being your guest. I come in, I congratulate everybody in the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why? Like, it's not your birthday. Like, you're a guest. Yet I am congratulating you with him. It's like, what? It doesn't make sense. It does, but that's how things are. If you don't do that, you're like, people are like it's expected of you. We're just like, why again? Like, I don't know. So
now coming back on a bit about the transition as well. So how does the company, was there an impact on the company and work thing as moving into from Hungary to Netherlands?
Of course, it was a legal thing to move the company over here, which was actually much easier than I expected, or the administration and kind of things. But also what is interesting to see is that now I have new clients who are just noticing, hey, you are in the Netherlands, we should talk. And I'm like, even before I was in the European Union, even before, yes. I was doing the same thing. I am the same person, but still it feels like, I don't know, different kind of visibility. I'm not sure what it is. It's weird sometimes.
I think Netherlands is anyway kind of a technology hub within the Europe.
Yes.
Why is that, Waldek? What's the obviously, if you think about Microsoft 365, Scandinavia is adapting super early as well, Sweden, Finland, and Norway, Denmark. But why is Netherlands part of this?
I don't know, but if I would have to guess, I would say that it might have to do with the trade routes that we've got here in the Netherlands.
Historical.
So like always, in Dutch, we're always, outgoing, building relationship, trying to exploring opportunities, being all over the world, trading stuff, like being kind of the pioneers. And maybe that is a part of the culture to do, like, don't settle for what you got, like try something new, take a risk, take a bet, try new things. And maybe that's why you see some of the outcomes of that.
And I guess Rotterdam is one of the biggest ports in Europe still, and all of that stuff, right? So
yes,
Rotterdam being in Netherlands, and so
correct.
So for those who do not know, so I think maybe Barcelona is nowadays bigger port, but anyway, doesn't matter.
Europe, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But Barcelona is not in the Netherlands.
No, but in Europe.
It isn't yet.
Cool. Good. I guess from a timing perspective, I guess we need to start closing up as well. Any last words? What would be the top 3 things what people should be looking into getting ready to Copilot and AI? Agnes, from your perspective, related on search.
Getting ready for Copilot and AI, your content, definitely, metadata, information architecture, and clean up as much as you can. Do not keep 9 different versions of the same documents.
Only 9.
Sometimes it happens. It's a real story, but that would be another discussion. So get ready on the content side. That would be number 1. Number 2, make your people ready. The mindset, the education, prompting, or those kind of things. And number 3 would be that be open-minded, but don't want to be the first in everything.
Yep. Learning from others is
don't be Dutch, don't pioneer.
I guess so. And the last thing, what we typically do within this, anything interesting, what's happening this week? So kind of a quick upcoming week, what's happening, any interesting things, what you can talk about? How does the week for Agnes look like?
Well, Sinterklaas or Santa is coming Tuesday night.
You have such a weird schedule on this stuff. So.
Yes, and it's not only that, but in the Netherlands, that's also an interesting difference. In the Netherlands, Santa is coming from Spain and not from the north.
By both.
And he's been in the country.
I mean, right? So that's a different one. That is not the one. Like there will be another guy with Christmas too. So there is 2 of them actually.
2 of them, yes, and we had the same concept of Santa in Hungary, who comes the night before the 6th of December. That's the same for us.
Okay.
But still, but one big difference is that Santa has been already in the Netherlands I don't know, for 3 weeks now. There is a TV show every night for children about what Santa is doing today. And of course, there are all different kinds of challenges. And he lost the big red book, and then he found it. They lost again. Last week or last year, the boat went wrong. So there is always something happening. But of course, Santa is coming tomorrow night. So that's a big thing.
Cool. So you do get gifts for the kids then 2 times in a December. Wow.
Correct.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. And the second is 25th of December.
Correct.
Or
Yes.
24th.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
25th. Okay. Because in Finland it's 24th because it's the eve of the Christmas in Finland.
yes.
not
Yes.
The Christmas
Oh, yeah.
day. So
Yes. Yeah, I think it might be. I don't know if it's a personal thing because like you will have your party at home and then you will get to your parents, so and grandparents for kids, and then from one side, from the other side. So
Yes.
it might be like depending if everybody gets along with each other and you can get everybody in one place, or does that need to be spread and so forth. So yeah, it might be few evenings. It might be one. It depends.
yeah, makes sense. Cool. Anything else? Waldek, what's happening on your week?
Tomorrow, as you are watching this, we have released new version of Dev Proxy. So that is one. Cool. Depending which time of the day we release it, we might have, or we will be presenting one of the connectors that we've built that allows you to ingest external content to Microsoft 365. But what's really cool about it is that we've got a cloud-based setup with serverless with queues to handle the scale. Cool. But what's also cool is that all it takes to run it is to press F5, and we've got automated everything. So that is really, really cool. So definitely, if you watch this show as we've presented it already, check out the recording. If not, join us live at the community call.
Yes, on 5th
4 p.m. GMT.
Yes, 4 p.m. GMT, 5 p.m. CET. Yes.
There you go. Wow, time zones are hard.
Yes, 6 p.m. EET. I can go on and on here. Just kidding.
Yes,
8
perfect.
a.m.
You go on and on and on.
Yes, 5 a.m.
Other than that, we're working on launching new learning path about some of the content related to extending Copilot from Microsoft 365. So stay tuned for that. Well, what about you, Vesa?
We do have an Independence Day actually on 6th of December, so that's on one. Having a nice week where you have a Wednesday off. So I'm all for this 4-day week system and having but it's good to have a 1 day off within this week. I need to still get better a bit after last week. I got a bit of a flu on the Amsterdam ESPC, so that should be getting better. But there's a documentation work. We're releasing the Card Designer ++, so making the Vivo Connection cards to be configurable. All of that stuff happening this week as well, and a lot of planning. So nothing really changes. Planning. Community.
At some point, that will turn into execute, right?
Hopefully, yes. Or then we start planning the next semester. So planning. So, but yeah, anyway. So
always be planning.
Always be planning. Always be shipping. That would be much better.
Yes.
Anyway, I think that's enough for the discussion of this week. So thank you, Agnes, joining us. Really cool to have you on the show. It's been a while since you've been on the show, so good to have you back here. And congratulations on the move and transitioning the company on the Netherlands as well. Really, really cool. And all the best for within the future as well.
Thank you, Vesa. Thank you, Waldek. It's my pleasure.
Excellent. And from here, we move into the weekly articles together with Waldek. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, Agnes, one more time. Excellent. Thank you, Agnes, one more time on the great discussion. It's good to catch up as well. And we'll no idea what I'm about to say. Anyway, it was great to catch up. We did saw each other actually last week in Amsterdam as well, all 3 of us. So which is kind of cool. How was the ESPC for you, Waldek?
It was.
We're talking about the European SharePoint, Microsoft 365, Azure, SharePoint, whatever the conference name is nowadays. But
correct. I think it's the European SharePoint Office 365 and Azure conference.
Yes.
I think that is the name on their side. If anything else, it was a reunion of sorts. It was great to see everybody because there's a bunch of folks with whom we get to call weekly, bi-weekly, once a month at least.
Yep.
But like it's been a while since at least I've seen them in person. So like there were folks who I saw last time at ECS in May, but there are folks who I haven't seen for a few years. So it was great to see everybody in person, catch up with folks, but also see the where the interest is, what kind of things people ask about. And conferences are always, a great place to learn that, because it's one thing to, online to hear that, but it's different when you are in the room and when you get to chat with folks and you hear the kind of the unfiltered feedback from them, like this is working, this isn't working, we're interested in that, but we're stuck on this. So if anything else, it was great. It was really, really great. And it was a well-organized event. And apparently
really
we'll have another one next year in December in Sweden.
Yes, in Stockholm, which is looking forward on that one. A bit more delayed. I think the idea was there to give a bit more flexibility between the Ignite and then ESPC. So I think it's 1 or 2 weeks more delayed, which is good. So looking forward on that one. December in Stockholm is not that bad at all. Well, depending on the weather. Right now we're hitting -10 degrees every single day, apparently in Helsinki.
But you're in Finland, so that's
no,
different.
but that shouldn't be the case. This is It's always, Finland is always so cold, and no, it's not actually. So, and not in Helsinki level. In the north, yes, absolutely.
So what was your take on ESPC?
I did the same thing. I really love having a discussion with people and seeing people really in real world. Shaking hands, hugging, all of that stuff, really, really awesome, and really have that few days time on feeling the audience, what's interesting and what's not interesting. Also, there's a lot of interest on looking into the attendee numbers within the sessions to understand what is the real focus areas and where. We talk about quite often about the reduction of extensibility and developer stories within the Microsoft 365, which wasn't visible in the conference at all. There was a massive interest in all of the developer sessions, which was really cool to see. And that's kind of something what we've seen in the past as well. There's a certain difference between US and Europe on that as well. But it's cool to see, especially being on a platform side of the house, like you, Waldek, and helping us on the documentation and the samples and all of that. It's cool to see that there's clearly high interest on betting on these functionalities.
Yeah, and maybe even to expand that a little bit. I got to see the workshops on the pre-day, the first day. And there were workshops about building apps for teams, building apps with Power Platform, and some other things too. And these workshops were packed.
Yeah.
Right. So if anything else, the need to build your own is still there. The interest to build your own is still there, to kind of build on top of what is available on Microsoft 365. And then add to it the specific things that you need for your org, and then also build it in a way that you don't need to stand up your own infra in a cloud. You don't need to that side of it was very much packed too, because there was also a workshop, I think, about AI, and that was all from the lens or through the lens of build your own AI experiences on Azure, and that was packed too, right? So across the board, building things on the Microsoft Cloud is still very much in interest. So don't let anybody else, or don't let anybody tell you different. The interest is there, and we see sure over time, the different feature sets evolve. Like just the other day, and I think we're going to talk about it. Like we deprecated the add-ins, right? Change is there.
Yes.
But the fundamental needs of building your own and trying to do more with the tech you've got available is still there. That doesn't change.
Absolutely. And I think that's always been the big promise of the Microsoft Cloud as well, that yes, you get the baseline SaaS service, but then you can adjust that based on your business requirements, and that makes it unique as well. And it's a great partner opportunity as well. So, but yeah, it was really, really cool. It was awesome to be, in a location where we have 1,500, 1,600, 80, I don't know how many people there was, but there was more than 1,000 people, I think less than 4,000 people. So somewhere around that.
On the app, I saw registered 1,890, so around 1,900, yeah. So
and the expo was awesome. I'd have to call that one out as well, because I was at the last day on Thursday. I was the whole day in an expo, and it was packed. And there was 100 what are those?
Vendors.
vendor, what's whatever, different vendors providing and explaining their offerings and all of that. And based on a chat with a lot of them, they were like, yeah, this was really good. So they have a lot of leads and interest and offering their services as well. So one place solution flew in all the way from Australia there. We had a chat with Cameron on their success and all of that, and a lot of other people as well. So that was really cool. Awesome stuff.
Yeah, and it's also great like that. Even like, I don't know about you, but we've been around for a few years, and it was interesting to see names I didn't know yet. And
true.
I am not trying to say that I know everybody, but if you are in this space, you get to know the common names, and they're like, hey, I didn't know these folks are there, and I don't know what they do. So let's learn about it too. So it's also it's all these signs of vibrant ecosystem, people building on it, building product, and even building a business on it, right? Which only proves that there is a need for it.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Then that need comes from the customers asking features and capabilities and using the Microsoft Cloud to improve their productivity. Also, it was interesting to see the interest, always a massive interest on Copilot. At the same time, it's not super widely available. So there's like people wanted to have a sneak peek here and there on what does it actually mean and how do I extend that? What are the different options? So a lot of interest on that. Definitely we'll get more availability on the Copilot and extensibility models for all of the partners and customers gradually within upcoming months. That's evolving forward as well. Cool. I guess let's jump on the weekly articles, right, Waldek?
Let's do that. Yes. Let's have a look what you've got for us.
Now, the first one is actually interesting. We talked about this one before we started recording, because this is one of the let's say, from our perspective, this is a cool feature. This is basically a new application called Updates. And it's basically you have a team that you can share then updates within the team on how you're progressing. So think about a developer team or a feature team, and you use
daily
this application to do updates, data stand-up, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I still, the name of the app is, I'm confused. It took me a while to figure out on what.
Yeah, like when you read it the first time and you don't know and you haven't heard about the app, you read it twice, like, what is it?
Yeah.
Updates about,
Yes.
and then
Updates.
the app is named Updates.
Yeah.
And then, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but idea is really good. Idea is absolutely really good, and making it sure that, and I guess obviously there's a part of a competition probably for Slack and all of that. Slack is quite heavily used by developer teams as well, and this is now targeting to address those demands a bit more efficiently.
Well, but I guess
not sure if that's directly competitive there. Yeah, absolutely. But
right,
as an example,
like for example, like I am on projects and we have weekly syncs. And yes, like I don't think that might alleviate or address the need to have a meeting, because at someone like you might want to talk through things. But it's a great way. Like if you work asynchronously, and if you are with a team that is spread across the world, where having a synchronous meeting is not always an option, this is really a great way to get the sentiment from the team, and see maybe based on this there is a need to have a meeting to address a topic on the list.
Yep.
So definitely a great thing, and
really cool stuff.
I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see how we will use that even ourselves.
Yep, absolutely. Looking forward on that as well. Now we also had we are in the early ages of December, so that means that we have the monthly summaries coming up on Across the Stack. So Microsoft 365 Admin Monthly Digest, basically summer calling out all of the features which we announced in Ignite, most likely recapping Ignite announcements is really the message here. And there's going to be a separate AMA for Microsoft 365 Copilot, by the way, on Wednesday, December 6th in the Microsoft 365 Copilot Tech community. So something to check out there as well. So depending on when you're watching the video, it might be tomorrow or then you missed it. So, or listening to the podcast. There was also an update on what's new on the enterprise customers in the Microsoft 365 app, previously known as Office.com app, whatever we call this. Now I'm getting too used to use the Microsoft 365 app already, so which is good. So updates in here as well. And from an experience perspective, which is really cool, and summarizing all of those different features. There was also an update on the Copilot as for support tips, Copilot in Microsoft 365 from Brian Stoner. So referencing Copilot guidance, how does it actually work, and so understand the baseline. I really like this picture. I'm not sure who actually drew it first time. Pretty complex picture, but we do have the step-by-step, walking through how this actually works, and it actually explains how it works with the system prompts and everything else. So it's the first impression might be that, oh my God, it's complicated. Actually, it's not. It's not super complicated. A lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, but still.
Yeah.
And then a lot of other references related on supportability and support tips. Now, we also had a getting started with Viva Amplify event coming up. This is coming up on December 7th, so early December. You can pretty much. Why is everything happening in early December, by the way?
Because part of the world observes Christmas, I suspect.
Correct. Yes, that's kind of pretty much given. So after this week, I can pretty much guarantee that after next week, which is starting from 11th, we will see less and less people actually working. So I can say that from the out of office. I'll be here, definitely. Yeah. I'm always here. Come on.
Except when you aren't, but other than that
yes,
you are. Yes.
That's precisely how it works. Anyway, there's a Getting Started with Amplify event on December 7th in 10 a.m. Pacific time. We also announced a general availability for Web Connection announcements. Technically, this was already available in Ignite timeframe, but we delayed the announcement a bit, so we didn't overlap with the Ignite announcements. So that basically means that upper section announcement feature within here. So this picture is Viva Connection version 3.0, which is now a set of features and capabilities which are now rolling out for all of the customers. And the announcement is that higher section or the upper section within the page. Really, really cool. We did record actually quite a long time ago already, recording with Nancy. That's me and Nancy chatting about the Viva Connection announcement feature. So showcasing how it actually works and asking a few questions related on, okay, so what about X and Y and Z scenarios? Does it actually support that? So I think that's like 10 minutes chit-chatting, 16 minutes chit-chatting with me and Nancy. So it should be good for those who are looking into more details on how does it actually work. So this is Inception. I can see myself in a video as we're recording a video. That's weird.
Wow, and you're in the same room.
Yes.
Oh my God. How does that work?
Inception. Then two super important announcements. I did actually share this right before this call, and it clearly caused questions because people wouldn't know. We didn't promote this articles from last week too efficiently, but now we're trying to make sure that everybody is aware of them. So SharePoint adding model will be retired. Oh my God, what does that mean? Well, it means that the SharePoint framework and the Azure Microsoft 365 and Azure AD application, all of that will work without any problems. SharePoint adding model is the model which we introduced back in 2012. So it's more than a decade, 10 years old technology. And that's the SharePoint hosted add-ins and the provider hosted add-ins and related technologies. Now, the retirement is not immediate, which is super important to understand as well. So the timelines are reasonable, so to say. We will basically stop having support SharePoint add-ins in the store from April. Is it April? Where is it saying that?
March 24.
No new adding model offerings in the public marketplace, and from July 21st cannot be acquired anymore from the public marketplace. So that's kind of okay, cool. So that's the marketplace support for adding model is done by June 2024, and then for the new tenants, we'll stop supporting add-ins in November 1st, 2024. But if you have invested on SharePoint add-ins previously and you're using them within your tenant, using the site loading or you acquired them from somewhere, they will be working all the way until April 2026. So that's pretty reasonable, giving heads up for everybody. It's not an immediate thing. All of the remote events receivers, workflows, all of that stuff, deadline right now, April 2nd, 2026, not more than sooner than that. So that's pretty reasonable.
In other words, if you are building something now, don't use it anymore. If you have something You can still use it. However, start thinking about doing something.
How do you replace that or transition that? Is it needed? The first question, if it's needed, then how do we do that using other technologies? We do have a set of new articles and videos which are available related on this guidance as well. So how do we implement certain scenarios and things using transitioning from ACS to Azure AD and all of that, which is one of the transition points as well. Now, related on that one, Azure ACS retirement in Microsoft 365, kind of a related, but we wanted to explicitly call it out as well. This is the authentication model, which was introduced 2011, which is, how would I put it, older version than Azure AD. So Azure ACS technically was dropped to support for Azure ACS already in Azure side 2018, if I remember correctly. Within the SharePoint Online side, we kept this live for the add-ins and the applications, but now it's getting deprecated at the same sequence as April 2nd, 2026. And that's the last date when it's actually going to be supported. April 1st would have been, I guess, not a good date to have a, not funny at all. So.
This is not a joke.
Yes, exactly. But it's good to be aware. Again, these are reasonable timeframes. We're giving basically then 2.5 years people heads up, moving away, figure out what you have. We have tooling and all of that available for you to do analysis within your tenant. Are you using any of these technologies? And then you can actually start thinking on, okay, what do we do now? Geez, we've spent a lot of time on this, but an important topic. Now, SharePoint roadmap update fall 2023, and this is not a typical monthly summary. This is more a long-term update in association with the European SharePoint conference announcements and the demos, what we did there. So talking about the next steps within the SharePoint Online, all of those cool new scenarios and the cool-looking UX, updates in Viva Amplify, what's actually happening, flexible platforms, so updates on the platform side, as well, including the next year roadmap. It's pretty small picture, but looking into calling out all of the different features where we're looking into investing and enabling also on the SharePoint side, and not just actually on SharePoint side, but also on the SPFX cross Microsoft 365 side as well. So a lot of stuff there as well. So really nice blog post related on that. Cool. SharePoint roadmap pitched off November 2023. This is the typical monthly summary where we basically then walk through other updates in SharePoint Online and on the related technologies, for example, the stream and all of that. So how we are actually able to do that stuff. So cool. a lot of great stuff in Microsoft 365 coming up or announced already. Now, on the Power Platform side, there was a Power Apps November feature update as well from Clay Wiesner. So a lot of new features, capabilities, which were announced partly in Ignite. So a lot of cool stuff on that side as well. On CLI side, there was a 7.2 version coming out.
Definitely. So another month, another set of upgrades and updates, new features. Some of the things that we call out in the announcement: new commands for Entra ID, previously known as Azure AD. The ability to manage your profile card in Microsoft 365, because we released new APIs that allow you to manage the properties that you see on the people card across Microsoft 365, and that is really, really cool, because if you sync profiles from HR systems, some other locations, you might want to have additional info showing up on a card, like your office or your number or telephone or some other number that you've got personally, or whatever it is you want to see. Like, you've got that ability now, so that is really cool. And other than that, the ongoing improvements, including apparently upgrading or allowing you to upgrade your SharePoint framework projects to 1.18.2, which is as of the recording the latest version of SPFX available.
There might be a few new until before the end of the year, just calling it out. And these are not, these are not regressions. They're actually additional new features which you might actually like in. So.
Correct. Right. So we stick on that. And other than that, just ongoing improvement, all geared towards the fact to help you get more out of CLI from Microsoft 365 and give you that one single tool to manage it all.
Correct, which is really cool and convenient. And now, are you going to rename the AD intro at some point?
At some point, yeah. So we've been going about it for a long time. What is the word? What do we rename it to? Is it EID? Is it Entra? Is it like, so we're waiting kind of on the community
Waldek.
to make up their mind about the acronym, and then we follow.
Let's call it Waldek. Anyway,
Steve.
fair point. Steve always works. Now, Viva Connection Toolkit 2.4 was also out. This is a great tool for doing SPFX development, not only for Viva, actually. It works across all of the different things. And one of the things what we designed here together, thank you, Adam, for the great work in here, is the support for doing Teams Toolkit and the Viva Connection Toolkit together. So the Viva Connection Toolkit now understands the project structure if you are using Teams Toolkit to create your SPFX solution. So you can use either way. And that's actually really cool. So you can, in the same project, you can use Teams Toolkit for the Teams-oriented operations, and then Viva Connection Toolkit for those which are operations which are not in the Teams Toolkit. So awesome capability. Good, and a lot of additional improvements there as well. Thank you, Adam Wojcik, on running that. Now I need to remember the person's name, which is complicated. Sergey, I think it's Sergey. Okay, so let me confirm
I think
this.
so too.
I think it's Sergey. Yes,
no name. Yes. There you go.
Had a new blog post, how to create a Microsoft Fluent UI searchable drop-down component with React. So a technical summary. We don't see this many, this kind of a blog post too much right now. I think everybody is just super busy and closing up for the year. I guess that's the reason. Thank you, Sergey, for this one, explaining how to get started and using that and how it will look like. Awesome stuff. We had also a blog post from Rashmi and around deploying a SharePoint framework packages to tenant app catalog to hub sites and associated heights. And this is actually quite typical scenario. This goes back on something what people have been asking us as a Microsoft to do, that can we have a hub site app catalog, so that the free apps which are in the hub site would actually enable in associated site collections. There's no technical reason why we wouldn't be able to do that. It's just stacked not right now in the hire to get actually done versus the other features and requests. So, but this is basically then showing how to do that using PowerShell, which is really cool. Wartman had a blog post related on manage Azure OpenAI service using Azure CLI. So CLI, that seems to be a growing theme, right, Waldek?
Yes, correct. Always be CLI.
Yes. And basically, how can we adjust the Azure OpenAI service? I did see what was it? Who's the father of PowerShell? Come on,
Jeffrey Snover.
Jeffrey Snowden had a Snover. Yes, Jeffrey Snover had a tweet related on should Windows have a CLI or not, because he created the PowerShell.
Yes,
it was actually kind of interesting.
One thing Windows should have is CLI. Yes, correct.
Good. And then Syed Hassan had a blog post related on SharePoint, how to customize SharePoint forms with Power Apps. So really cool explanation on this as well, how it actually works and how it then is getting exposed within the UX as well. So how the panel is getting customized. Bit of a bummer that you cannot do this with SPFX or as a pro development storyline currently. So you can do this only with the Power Apps, and that's like why it's in the backlog. We'll hopefully get to that sooner or later. And then Message Center show, and Daniel and Daryl. Daniel was on the ESPC as well, had a good time of chatting on other stuff, had a latest episode around Teams chat embedded in Outlook. So a lot of stuff is getting merged and more merged, and then they're calling out the other features which are getting announced in the tenant admin Message Center within the past week. Few videos. Paulo had a new video related on consuming intra-ID applications with consuming intra-ID applications to manage identities. So it's a very important thing from identity perspective to understand as well how to make that happen. Then we had a 5 Power App performance tips from Shane. If somebody knows about how to improve PowerShell Power Apps, that would be Shane, definitely, not PowerShell. Right, Shane?
I don't know. Maybe he knows about PowerShell
maybe
too.
He knows.
Or maybe for that he
does.
defers to Todd.
He does. Yes, that's true. And then related on Todd and the connection with Shane. So Synpraxis Consulting had a new video related on Microsoft Ignite recap. So what was actually the key announcements within 2023 Ignite? And that's basically Synpraxis people, so Julie, Todd, Mark, and Emily walking through and explaining what are the latest announcements. And then we wanted to promote this one. ESPC is now done. Microsoft 365 conference is coming. That's the next big one, which is coming in April 13th and May 1st and 2nd in Orlando. So it doesn't matter if you're in US or Europe. It will not be a massive long flight versus going all the way to the West Coast. Orlando is pretty short.
If you're in Australia, that's a long flight.
If you are in Australia, it's a longer flight than for the West Coast of US. That is true. But this is definitely going to be the biggest one within Microsoft within 2024, which is focused on Microsoft 365 and associated technologies. So using Viva, Teams, SharePoint, Microsoft Power Platform in the concept of Microsoft 365. Definitely looking forward on this one. There's already a lot of speakers announced, and more is coming pretty soon. So session details, all of that is coming soon as well. So a lot of progress on that side. And then a final recap, reminder on our sample gallery. Anything new here? Do you have a new samples, Waldek?
Yeah, so there's a new sample from Nandeep and Smita.
Yep.
And there were some minor updates in the other one, but it's so cool to see how many of these we got. Like we are almost like all the way like under the 1800.
Yep.
And a new sample coming every week, which is a great place, to see in practice. Like, because it's one thing to hear about it or read about it, but it's another thing to actually see it in action. And there's no easier way to do it than to grab a sample from here, press F5, see it run, see it for yourself, and then show your colleagues and customers, because that is like kind of, once you see it, you're like, it sparks an idea, like, what if we could use this and then extend to this and that?
Correct. Get those ideas and basically, oh, that's really interesting. Let's take that one, combine that to there. And now we have a great idea, and voila. And then hopefully make billions out of that when you're selling that to Google or Microsoft or whatever, right? Hopefully we can always hope. Good. I guess that's it for this week. Thank you, Agnes, one more time for joining on the discussion. I have a bit of a flu, so I still need to, get some rest on it this week. It doesn't show. I can hear myself differently. My echo, you can't. Really? Interesting.
I mean, like, if you really pay attention, but on the other hand, you know what? You're here. That is the most important part.
That's true. That is true. That's how it works. But I guess that's it. We'll do a few more episodes probably this calendar year. Not going to promise anything, right? But holiday season is coming, and then we'll have a few weeks. Exactly. But by default, we'll be back within a week. Please use PnP hashtag PnP Weekly, so we'll understand or can find out what you are sharing and writing and doing in the video or in the blog post or whatever formats. If it's a sample, something else, let us know. We are always interested in seeing what the community is doing. I guess that's it. Thank you, Waldek, for having me.
Thank you, Vesa, for being here.
Thanks, everybody. We'll be back. Cheers. Bye-bye.